Hello, hello, hello. It's Monday again, Monday Fun Day, and we have some really good treats for you. And today is, what is it? Let's see, um, the 25th of July. I'm going to give you guys some time to get in here because we definitely want to make sure that you understand this is an interactive show. So feel free to say something, come in, say something. And if you have questions, if I'm moving too fast, make sure you stop me and say, hey, what does that mean? What is going on? How do you do that? Or whatever you need to ask your question. Today, we're going to be talking a lot about um, some things, wrapping up some of the things that we've said. Now, I hope you're watching all the videos because a lot of the videos are, like I said, they're progressive and they're trying to lead us somewhere. We're taking somewhere. And where we're going? We're going to mental health is physical wealth. So we want to make sure everybody, we don't need no stragglers. We don't need no stragglers. Now I have a book again. I know the last episode I gave you a whole lot of books to read. And that's okay. You don't have to read all of them at the same time, but definitely have it in your library because those are fantastic books to have. Now, am I going to take you through every book in my house? No, no, no. And a lot of times I give away a lot of my books, just like I give away my vitamins to people who don't have it and need it. And they say, well, what do you do? Well, what do you do? And, people ask questions and I give away a lot of things. Um, and it's just out of sharing is caring, right? So a lot of times that's what you do when you care. Hi, Sean Anthony. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. You're gonna find this really interesting, Sean Anthony. Okay, because today we're gonna be talking a lot about what is this? What is this? This is a good book to teach from. This is I'm trying to get see if you can Eastern religions is Hinduism. Oh, goodness. Okay, there we go. Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, and Shinto. Now, this is a really good book. It's just general information. It's good talking points to teach from. Okay, so it's a really great book. Let's get a look at it, see what it looks like. Okay, this is a really great book. Now you can get it from your bookstore. You can get it from Amazon. It's just a little tiny little thing and it's got a lot of great talking points in there, origins of different faiths and things like that. And it's really, really helpful. It's good to learn from too. Hello, Teddy. Hello, hello. Thank you for coming. So, a lot of these things in this book are talking points. It's little nuggets of information and facts, but it's not the origination of my understanding. I studied in school for Eastern religions. I already knew Western religions because my lifestyle. So, and family and, friends and associates and people that I grew up around. So I was a curious person. I asked why a lot. People be afraid to ask why. I'm not afraid to ask why. I'm going to ask why. And I might disagree with you, but that's because I'm a critical thinker. I've always been a critical thinker, but I'm gonna listen to you, and I don't judge. But I love a good debate. Um, One of my favorite, my first loves was learning law. Okay, and then branched off to psychology. Imagine that, right? Okay, so anyway, we're gonna go over to um, what we're doing today. So here we have Confucius and Jesus. The principles, their principles influence government and interpreted in different ways, pending the follower's perspective. Now, a lot of people, a lot of faiths were based off the perspectives of different followers of these two characters, Confucius and Jesus. So these two people, what did you say? You don't have to follow a religious study. Yeah, you could just study all of them. I particularly like to study all of them. So here we see a mustard seed, and you see how it's golden. Imagine that a mustard seed is actually golden. And look at how pretty and beautiful it is. And everyone is a mustard seed. You're a beautiful golden mustard seed. And you're growing. Okay. So don't stop, get it. But we all start off as a golden little tiny mustard seed. And the reason why a lot of people use the mustard seed as an example is because we all start off really small, very humble beginnings. But from that, you could grow into a majestic sequoia tree size, uh, uh, I don't know, whatever you want to be. You could be a small little bush if you want. You could be whatever you want to be. So a mustard seed, that's what they're trying to show you, that from a tiny little thing can come greatness, unimaginable greatness. So here we have Confucius and his harmonious society and effective government. Now, what does that mean? In the book, it talks a lot about, well, it doesn't talk a lot about it, but it talks about how Confucius uh, uh, tried to show everyone an example that they can relate to, that they can understand. So Confucius compared uh, filial piety, which is how a baby looks at their parents when their parents are, their only source of survival. For example, when they were helpless. I should just read the slide, but I get nervous talking on this. Anyway, so it's about how the parents had to nurture them, and they had to, respect their role to maintain the balance, and the practice to strengthen the harmonious balance that everyone is looking for, especially a baby, because a baby is helpless. However, in Confucius' example, he's saying that it's really more him emphasizing that the government should be as gentle, loving, and caring and nurturing as parents. It's not saying that the people, the civilians, and the laymen and the society members are helpless. It's not saying that they're weak or vulnerable. It's just to have an example of how things should be so that the people can trust the leadership, the guidance. And that's why a lot of people say they use parables, and a lot of things get lost in parables in translation because it depends on where we are mentally and emotionally, not just physically. But faith, the grain of a mustard seed, can grow and move mountains because of his majesty. So let's move to the next one. So here we have Shang Tzu. He was born in the 4th and 3rd century BCE. And there we can see that he had an idea of what Confucius was saying. And from his perspective, he said, let's dive deeper into Confucius' teachings and elaborate on human virtue and the good of the government. He believed the goodness of human nature and the right of the people to rebel against a wicked ruler. You have to know who the ruler was of that time and that era in order to understand why that was relative. I'm not gonna get into a history lesson. I'm gonna leave that for my husband to do on Thursdays. Hey, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you coming. Like, share, and subscribe. Give me a like, a love, whatever if you liking it, if you liking it. So here we have uh this is Mungza. Mungza. Okay, it's pronounced differently. Uh, Wait, no, this is Shangzhou. The other one was Mongza. I think yeah, this is Mongza. We have the slides backwards today. Sorry about that. A lot of Westerners call Mongza Minza. So it's about pronunciation. But here we have Shangzhou. I told you I get nervous with these things, trying to do this. Um, so anyway, here we have the 4th and 3rd century leader who believed that human nature is innately bad and only good due to strict rules and harsh punishments. Now, the occurrence and governings were noted by the rulers of the era. A follower of Confucius during each time. It depends on what they were thinking and what was going on in that era, how they felt. For example, um, Mungza came first, and he thought, let's elaborate on the goodness, the virtue of human nature. And then somebody came along and said, no, I've thought about this for a while, and people are innately bad. And it all depends on what's going on in the environment, the economy at the time, and the perception of the teachings. For example, some people read the Bible and they say it hit different depending on what you're going through and the era or whatever. And this is a good example of that because you have different perspective from different um, followers of the same person. These are all people who follow Confucianism and branched off in their own understanding. However, Confucianism is vague enough to speak volumes of the person conveying their understanding of what was said, which is just signaling who will help your mustard seed to grow, shape it, and who will kill it. All necessary information for peace of mind. Let's look at that closer. See this mustard seed? It has to grow. It has to be nurtured. And in order for it to grow and be nurtured, then you have to understand who's going to help you do that. How is this person going to help me? How is this going to make me feel? What is this going to do? Because mustard seeds are developed according to how you shape it, if you cut it, trim it, if you provide water for it. And you have to also imagine that a mustard seed is surrounded by a whole lot of things that make it grow. It needs the dirt, it needs the water. Sometimes it needs to be drowned in the water. Sometimes it has to be so drowned in dirt and filth that it says it's got to grow from this and reach the sun in order for it to nourish and grow and develop the way it needs to go. So that's a good reason why a lot of people use the seed as example, because it goes through a whole lot and it takes like 85 to 90 days in order for the seed to actually blossom into anything. So there we go with long suffering. That part of the Bible where it says long suffering, a lot of people don't want long suffering, but this beautiful golden little seed has to grow up. It's got to develop into something, and it can be hard, but it doesn't mean just because it's hard and it's dark and it's dirty and it's grimy and you're tired, it's so long that you can't grow to be better than where you're coming from. The next slide shows who controls development of your mustard seed. Now that's important because your mindset, you're trying to control your mind from being, idle. You're trying to control your mind from being dark. And this beautiful gold mustard tree, this is what you want to see. This is what you're trying to get to. And you want to be full and vivacious and healthy and nourishing. Here we have another slide. This is from the CatholicReaders.org. It's a parable. The parable of the mustard seed says, to what shall we compare the kingdom of God? It is like a mustard seed that when it is sown in the ground, when it's sown in the ground, it is the smallest of all seeds on earth. But once it is sown, it springs up and it becomes the largest of plants and puts forth large branches, so that the birds of the sky can dwell in its shade. Now, the above quote comes from Mark, the Bible, Mark chapter 4, verses 30 through 32, Matthew chapter 13, verses 31 through 35, Luke chapter 13, verses 8 through 21. And you also have to understand to guard what you hear. That's Mark 4:24. That's Luke 8:18. There's a couple of other ways, but let's start there. And then you have to guard what you say to keep yourself out of trouble. Now, that's the book of Proverbs. Now, a lot of people say they want to know, where am I getting my information from? How am I piecing all this stuff together? Well, I show you books and I tell you, I talk about the Bible and I talk about Jesus because I'm in the Western society. And in Western society, most people are familiar with those things. So it's good to have a well-roundedness. And that's why we have this show today. And why is it? Why is that? Because a lot of people say, well, I can't believe, I can't have faith, but you have faith in something, and that mustard seed of faith is growing. Whether that mustard seed is growing a darkness or is growing a light, a positiveness. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying there's a mustard seed growing, and you have to be careful and mindful of what that is, because you don't want the wrong thing to be growing and festering, and because if you have something in you that's festering that you need to get out, you need to clean that out. And there's a healthy way to do that so that your mind can be mentally sound and mentally happy and stable, so you have a proper foundation that you can keep building on, instead of a rocky ground. Now here we have, now we've all seen this before. We all know our role, and we've played a role in this at some point, at some time. And, that's why I don't like it when people say, know your role. Look, what has that got to do with anything? Because your free will, everything changes according to your free will. Now, you know your role in a picture such as this. You've played in both parts. One is being the one talked about, everybody behind your back talking about you. You see, you hear, or you was one of the people who were talking about somebody, and or time where you was listening and watching all the BS happen and didn't do nothing but watch and be entertained. Well, your role changed and will continue to change over time as to exhibit your growth and development. And it's all according to your free will. A lot of people don't understand free will. Keep watching. So here we have a slide that I'm trying to show you. It's not about being strong enough to handle the presence of negativity. It's about proper application of wisdom. Wisdom is the right use of knowledge. And I see they took off something that I put there, but wisdom is the right use of knowledge. And you have to understand that that's really all that knowledge is. Knowledge is appropriate usage of the information they take in. And what are you going to do with this information they took in? Well, I'm going to use this to either grow, or I'm going to use this to cause havoc, wreak havoc, be damning to somebody or something somewhere, to hurt. It is what we are. The part that's missing, it says we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. And what does that mean? That means that if we keep on using our wisdom, using our knowledge in appropriate measures and at appropriate times, then that knowledge becomes wisdom. And it's like, well, how did you get so smart? How did you get so smart? It's knowledge that was used at the right time, at the right place. And that's how it became wisdom. So there that is. And it's habitual. That means you've made a habit out of it. You're practicing it all the time. And if you're reading different things and studying to show yourself prove with different books that we bring to you from Erudition, guess what's going to happen? You're going to exhibit that growth. And that growth will be visible from you applying knowledge in the appropriate times, which is going to look like wisdom, because that's the definition of wisdom. Harmony means respective balance of everything you are, you have, and your surroundings. And that's what a lot of wisdom is intended to do. It's intended to make it harmonious for you, a harmonious life for you. Now, a harmonious life, we think of things like the rainbow and how everything simultaneously on one accord, everything simultaneously on one accord, working together, coming to form a pleasingly consistent whole. like the colors of the rainbow. You're saying, well, sometimes music is, but a lot of people like different types of music. Depending on what mood you're in, that's the type of music you want to see or hear, or when you go to a concert, that's what you want to see when you're out and you're running and you got your headphones in. That's what you want to hear. But a lot of times, the best example for a harmonious coming together blend is the rainbow. But you have to remember that the rainbow is also symbolic to various things. So symbolism too, because symbolism is an important necessity. So and I love roses. That's why I put that rose. Also, because that's my name. But anyway, gonna move on. Okay, so the Britannica defines free will as being, in philosophy and science. Does wait, let me blow this up so you can see it. The supposed power or capacity of humans to make decisions or perform actions independently of any prior event or state of the universe. Arguments for free will have been based on subjective experience of freedom, on sentiments of guilt, on revealed religion, and on the common assumption of individual moral responsibility that underlines the concepts of law, reward, punishment, and incentive. In theology, the existence of free will must be reconciled with God. You can read more on this website that I provided there for you. Now I'm going to have to slow it down and rewind it. The reason why I put various things in different colors is because that's a lot, that's a mouthful, and I want to break it down so no, we don't have no stragglers, we don't have no stragglers. So some people say subjective experience of freedom. What is that? That means that you're free. You're about as free as the rules of your mama house. If you live in your mama house and you grown, you you're only as grown as she say you are. If she say you grown and then she tell you take out the trash, you say I'm grown, I don't have to listen to you. You better take out that trash when you end up out there with the trash. You only as grown as your daddy's belt. When these young guys they growing up and they live with their father, and the mama says, even if they don't live with their father, but the mama says that the son or the daughter is out of order and I can do anything to get them back in line. You know what? They just as grown and out of line as much as their daddy's belt or their daddy's reprimand would allow them to be. So that's what subjective experience of freedom is. It's saying that there's laws, there's rules, there's regulations. Like we'd probably all float off this planet if it wasn't for the law of gravity. So there's laws. Now it says the sentiments of guilt. A lot of people use guilt in a form of manipulation. Okay, somebody say, "Oh, you gonna leave me behind?" So now you're limited to that guilt that you're feeling. Okay, and then we have this other one on revealed religion. Hmm, what does that mean? That means that there's various religions. And I'm bring that book back out again. I'm bring that book back. This book is showing there's a lot of Eastern religions. Now we know that there's a lot of religions um, in the Western world where we all understand what is those people they're just now coming out and they're saying a lot of things. It's my husband was telling me, I can't remember. They wear purple. But anyway, it's a lot of people who are now becoming aware of different religions here in the Western society, where they're saying, well, now that that religion is more aware to them, they want to exercise it more. They want to do this and do that. But you have to understand, every time you come to understand a new religion, you need to study that. You need to dwell in that. And it takes many, many years of studying and knowledge. It takes a lot of prayer, fasting, and stuff, and just focus and getting alone and understanding that religion for yourself instead of listening to the interpretation of others. We know about Muslims, we know about Christianity, we know about Seven-Day Advances. Those are all Western religions. But these Eastern religions from the book that I'm showing you, these are the things um, that a lot of people are now being having revealed to them. So according to the revealing of those particular religions, you have a whole new freedom. You have a whole new different mindset. So it's to say, well, I can't be a Christian. I can't believe in God because I can't be a Christian. It's revealed religions. Whatever other religions and other faiths that you come to understand, then that broadens your horizon and it allows you to be a little more free. Okay, so that's what that means. And a common assumption of individual morality we have there, more responsibility, not morality, but more responsibility. So a lot of people say, well, what's right, what's wrong, and this is right for me, this is my truth, this is your truth, this is it's all according to people's perspective and understanding what they want. And that's why you have different religions. That's why you have different faiths. That's why you have different examples of how to live a harmonious life. And all of those things are fine in perspective if that's what you want to do. And that's what it means. Okay. What you as an individual want to incentive. A lot of time, wait, let's go back in and go in order. It says according to laws, we understand laws, various Orthodox religions, they have rules, and you have to stay within those guidelines. And then there's rewards and punishments as well as incentives. A lot of people feel a different type of way about particular incentives because your free will plays a large role in how you're going to behave and what actually incentivizes you and what maybe incentivized you um, when you were poor and didn't have anything. Yeah, $1 million is a lot of money for you, but some people, their house costs about $500,000. A good house. They house costs $300,000 just for a 3 bedroom apartment or a house or a condo or whatever. And then if you want more than that, it's 500, which is half a million. So in order to get a really nice house, you need $1 million. So $1 million isn't anything for you. Some people say, well, I don't want to take out student loans in order to learn anything because at the end of it, it's going to be $100,000 that I'll owe if I get all the education that I'm allowed to get or I'm able to get. It'll be $100,000 is it may be a lot of money depending on your perspective and where you are in life. But a lot of times that's not a lot of money. And as time continues to change, it's going to continue to be that way. So it's good to understand perspective, and that's what it means by um, individual moral responsibility, rewards and punishments, and incentives. It's understood from the Bible and other works of positive wisdom. Study to show yourself approved because everything you learn is shaping you. It's shaping your peace. It's shaping your prosperity. It's shaping your light and your darkness. And it can change you as you will it to. So that is why you have to guard what you hear, guard what you see, guard what you say. What'd you say, Eddie? Folks are wrapping the idea. Yeah. And that's why it's important for you to study to show yourself approved. Stop taking it that just because someone interpreted it something to you and that interpretation hit home or it made you feel some type of way, that's not the end. That's not the end. You have to continue to study to show yourself approved. And a lot of times it's good to appear as though you don't know something so that you can get more information in. And then once you got it, all the information in that you can get, all the information that they're going to give you, show them what you got. Show them what you're working with. Now, here, I'm trying to show you words have power, and so does imagery. Now, if you look at this picture, you see a picture of power. Each power is different. And you see the effects of these things. Some people will see the power lines and they'll say, man, power lines that cause people cancer. Power lines, this and that. And then you have all the smoke and pollution coming from the other source of power. You may have to isolate yourself to understand how to use this information to protect your heart and your mind from dark thoughts and feelings. And that's okay because you could throw this in rewind and repeat. You could slow it down. You can do whatever you need to do. But I strongly encourage you, go back and watch the other episodes because this is going somewhere. It's going somewhere. So if you look at all this and you say, words have power, and so does image, and so does imagery. That's why you have to guard what you see, because when you're seeing certain images, you're seeing things that can hurt you. You're seeing things that can grow you. You're seeing things, and you may not think that that has anything to do with what's happening to you. You may not think that it has anything to do with, oh, I'm strong enough to handle this. I'm strong enough to do this. I'm strong enough to do that. But it's not about you being strong enough. It's about what you are allowing in your atmosphere. It's about what you are allowing in your atmosphere, and it is doing something to you, even if you're unaware of what it's doing to you. So let's move on. I'm not telling you how to do you. I'm simply providing knowledge so you can use it to form a desirable habit and consequences according to your free will. As always, apply this information like lotion because mental health is physical wealth and sharing is caring. So make sure that you share this information. Now, why is all of this? Why am I saying that? Because we talk a lot about mental health. We talk a lot about mental health. And why is that important? Because we all want to be able to go and enjoy, um, community spaces at the same time as someone who's in a dark mental space, someone who's experiencing some tough times and hardships. We all want to enjoy life all at the same time. And it's like, the picture of when we saw the people gossiping and you see people are trying to manipulate somebody and they're looking like, I see you, I hear you, but I'm not phased by you. You are phased by it, but you're not allowing it to prosper according to what people thought and people wanted it to prosper for. So let's go back to that slide where we saw that they're sitting there gossiping. A lot of people say, well, they're trying to manipulate you. They want to manipulate you. And this is a good way to motivate you, to move you, to incentivize you. I won't say a good way. I'll say effective. A lot of people have found it to be effective for them to gossip behind your back, for them to act like they're your friend in front of your face, but behind your back, as soon as you walk away, they're gossiping. And the main person that's sitting there watching it all may also be the one that's telling you, hey, did you know such and such said such and such about you? Look, you have to guard what you're seeing and guard what you're saying because people think that you're moved by incentives like um, what is it? Grades, rewards, money, awards, um, power, fame, sex, food. But historically, those things were considered distractions because it was distracting from one's free will, which made them feel like even though I didn't have any of those things, I still had peace. I had peace of mind. I had peace of heart. I was feeling great. A lot of people say, well, oh, the more money you have, the more problems you have. Perspective. Because somebody will come back and say, well, it's perspective because all of my problems are money based. And if I had money, I wouldn't have these problems. And a lot of times that's true. But a lot of times the money isn't just your problem, it's your mental ability. Where are you at mentally? Can you grow and have this money, or will you wither away and die because you had too much money and you didn't know what to do with it, and it all went up your nose or in your veins because you were addicted to something that you couldn't overcome, and that's pleasure. Anything that's extremely pleasurable where we are overindulging our id, and our id is just the party. That's the party us. And we're like, we got to party all the time, party all the time. Now all my problems are gone. I have all this money and I don't have no other problems because everything was money based. I figured out how to solve every problem with money. You know what you didn't figure out? You didn't figure out free will with money. Because when people take away the thing that you thought that made you happy, it's like they say, "Oh, okay, that's what makes you happy. That's how I can control you. I can control you by your food. I can control you by your sex. I can control you by your fame, your money, awards, and grades. I can control you." And you have to understand. You have to get to a point in time in your mental stability that you understand that all of that's just, distractions like a magic show. And who doesn't like a good magic show? And it only entertains for a moment. And that's why our free will continues to change us and grow us, just like that mustard seed. And it's like if you allow someone, for example, to come in and say negative things about you, that's going to stunt your growth. That's going to stunt the things that help you to grow because you're listening to those negativities. You're listening to it's like having the ozone and having a bunch of pollution on your planet because all the negativity and all that negativity is polluting you and it's choking you out. You're not going to die from it, but you're not exactly going to grow to be as big and majestic as you were originally and capable of being. You're going to be more limited, and your limitations are based on the things that you keep around you. Now, that's why it's important for us to keep things around us that's positive. And we say, well, it's not bothering anybody. I know that person is a terrible person, and I know they're in my atmosphere. I know they're in my circle, but they're not bothering none. I can handle it. I'm strong enough. It's not about being strong enough. It's about being wise enough. It's about having the knowledge and using that knowledge at the most appropriate time to show, exhibit wisdom, exhibit growth, exhibit that you are developing in the way that's most desirable and pleasing consistently. And that's where we're having a lot of mental darkness to set in because we're not consistently pleasing, which means that, yeah, I was happy for a second, but now, and a lot of people, you can read their social media posts and you'll see that they're like, oh man, a moment ago they were high to the sky, couldn't knock them off their horse. And then the next moment, they down in the dumps, they depressed, they beyond the lowest low that you can get, and you can't lift them up. And it starts to look like they're bipolar. And it's not necessarily that they're bipolar just because they're exhibiting bipolarism or symptoms. It's to say that they're allowing something to constantly shape and shift them, ship all of the negative and and then remove all the positive. They ship the negative in and they remove all the positive out, and it's shaping them. And there are a lot of people, they're not necessarily impressionable. It's just that they're moved to be flamboyant of the moment, if that makes sense. If that makes more sense, they're flamboyant about, oh, I'm great, I'm happy, I'm on the sky, can't nothing knock me down. And then the next moment, oh man, something bad happened, and now I'll never get over this. I'll never get over this. They're just flamboyant about their feelings, their emotions, and they're exhibiting it in a way that they're trying to live in the moment and say, I'm enjoying this, and say, well, I'm not enjoying this. So a lot of people are not aware that showing they're doing too much. A lot of people say, you're doing the most, you're doing the most. You're not guarding what you are intending to guard because you have too much going on in your atmosphere. And that's really weighing on your ability to have mental stability, consistency in your mental. uh, well-being. Like it's a balance. You have to have a balance. So there's going to be some dark, there's going to be some negative, but you can't have an overabundance of it. And you have to be able to move past it. What did Eddie say? The fact is that non study. Okay. And a lot of times it's not just that they're not studying and that's what's bringing a misunderstanding. It's the matter of the fact that the mood that we're in, the headspace that we're in. A lot of times we can't take in any new information because we're struggling with the visuals that we see. We're struggling with the body language is a visual that we're seeing. We're struggling with the lies that we see. Like somebody is saying, "Oh, I thought you was a Christian, but from what I can tell by watching you, you don't know no God. So I don't think you believe in God." And they may not say that to you. They may say nobody believes in God. For example, there was a girl, it's a TikTok meme, and she says, "On God, I won't hit you. On God, I won't hit you." And the person apparently that's trying to believe them, and said, "Well, if I let you go, you won't hit me." He said, "On God, I won't hit you. On God, I won't hit you." And then they release the person. The person hits him and say, "I don't believe in God." A lot of people, what they're saying is, "Don't be fooled. I won't be manipulated because of my beliefs. I won't be manipulated because of anything outside of what my free will wants." And that's why you have the definition, the Britannica definition of what I was showing you earlier, the individual moral responsibility. And it varies, it fluctuates. It's something that people are, and you should go and read what a few things that it's saying, because it'll help you to understand that it's not about incentivizing, it's not about all these rules and regulations, because your free will, as long as you have breath, you can change your mind, you could do something different, and people cannot judge what you're going to do, but they try, and they try to forecast what you're going to do. So that's really what those definitions and laws and regulations are more about than anything. And they try to bring it to you so they can tell you what their understanding of it is. But if you don't understand the fundamentals of faith, you will make them up. Yeah. And it's funny because it seems like a lot of people, just my perspective here, I'm just gonna put my understanding out there. It seems like a lot of people they made things up and they justified it by saying that's Confucianism, that's Jesus, that's Christianity, that's Muslim. And a lot of times it was really perspective based, like I said in the, you're gonna have to rewind. Like I said before, it's based on the person's perspective of who followed that particular person. Like you have somebody, you have, who is it? Sun Tzu, who followed Confucius, and he said, well, people are this and that. And all of that came from Confucius saying one thing, when he compared the government being responsible for the development and the growth of its citizens. A lot of people see things differently, and because of the way they talk about what they perceive, that's a good indication of who it is you're talking to. And you have to be very careful to understand who you're talking to. What you say, then use misunderstanding. Just, yeah, people use their understanding to justify a whole lot of things. And it's funny because everybody say, well, I'm not leaning to my own understanding. This is what it said. And that's a good point right there. 2 Timothy 2:15. And the reason why I said about this book is because we can see that it wasn't subjective to, all of this understanding was not subjective to uh, one location. It's worldwide, it's everywhere, and it's revealed. Here we go again. Here you go again. Revealed religion. A lot of people use religion to push an agenda, push a study, push an understanding. because it's an old technique to get your foot in the door. It's an old technique to get a foot in the door. In my undergrad studies, I was a business major, business management major, and they wanted to know how can a particular company break into a place that did not want them there due to their moral values. And again, there's ways to do things to get your foot in the door. And that's what a lot of these people do. They say, well, how can I get this religion into this country? How can I get this way of thinking into this country? Because people say things like, oh, this business is immoral. It doesn't have morals. It has morals, and it's moral according to their justification of their country, their particular dwelling. But if you go overseas to the eastern side, the western will be like, well, that's not the way we do business. We're not going to use swords. We're going to use a gun. We're going to use a bullet. And in the eastern side, they'll say the Easterners will be like, "Well, we don't use guns. That's a coward's way. That's that we don't do that. We use swords, and you have to be a good swordsman and a good strategic fighter, and you have to have wisdom and exercise this." And the Westerners say, "Mm-mm, this is all I need. Pow, game over." So it's all perspective based. So they justify whatever they want to do according to their perspective and their era. And it's like some people say, well, how is that? Yeah, that's why I can't follow this and that's why I can't do that. But guess what? That's why you have to take a little bit from everywhere. That's why I say I'm not telling you what to do or trying to convince you. I don't convince people. What I do is I provide the information. You do what you want to do with it, and beyond that, that ain't got nothing to do with it. So what does that mean? That means you do you. Jesus didn't come here so that he would say, well, do it this particular way. He gave you information. He loved everybody, even lepers. Nobody was outside of God's love. And that shows us that, hmm, there's more than one way. There's more than one path. There's more than one understanding to be had. There's more than one justification. And some people think, oh, because you have so much, you should give a lot. And that person can be given and they're given just to appease people and it has nothing to do with anything else, and they're losing. It's like money in a pocket with a hole in it. All of it's going for nothing. It's fruitless, and it's not going to grow anything, and it's not doing anything, and they have the wrong spirit. They're like, well, I'll give, but you gotta understand where it came from. I'm gonna give you all of this because I have it. I have it to give. And then you turn around when that person has nothing left to give because they gave everything. You would imagine that people would be happy about that person. People would be fond of that person. People would treat that person well. And nope, now that person has nothing to give, and because of the way that they gave it, nothing fruitful comes from it. And that person now is in the slums. And they're looking towards everyone that they thought was going to be there for them, that they thought was going to do for them. No one is there. You have to do in the right spirit. And you can't say, well, I'm going to give because somebody asked me and because they know that I have it to give and the notoriety and the fame and the glory and the rewards. You can't do it like that because eventually it'll run out. And all you'll have is your mental well being and those people who you thought appreciated your giving. But if you're led to give, if you're led to do something positive and you're doing it in the positive spirit and you're doing it for the right reasons, and what's the right reasons? The right reason is that you're led to do this and you're not broadcasting it. You're not flamboyant, bragging and telling everybody about it. It's a harmonious balance in what you're doing. And let's just say Sometimes that Jiminy Cricket on your shoulder can be leading you to do something. And that thing that you're doing, it feeds you and it grows you. And maybe it didn't do it in that moment. Maybe it wasn't instant gratification, but it came slowly and gradually. And it was more fulfilling than anything you could have done flamboyantly, where everybody knowing, everybody got to see, and everybody's got to hear, and everybody's got to recognize. Because those same people that you're trying to please and recognize all the things that you're doing and give you all these accolades of kudos and pat you on the back for your knowledge or your liberal giving and all those things that you feel like you should be rewarded by man. That's not where it's at, because man is controlling you then. Man is saying, okay, well, I can control you by using food, fame, sex. So the consequences that you endure will be whatever it is I want you to endure. And that's not where you want to be. And that's when we have that. A lot of people, they fall for that, and they do for a time. But then their free will comes in. Their free will comes into play, and that feeling of conviction. It's not guilt, it's conviction. Conviction comes from knowing better. You knew better, and it's something about your free will that's saying, look, all of this is great. And yeah, we should enjoy all of this fame, glory, and rewards, money, power, sex, food, all of these things that provide instant gratification and pleasing consistently, because whenever it's there, I'm happy. But there's a harmonious balance that your free will is saying, look, something's not right. Something's not right. We got to turn around. We got to move while we have the breath, energy, and life in us to move and go the other way. And it's not necessarily because you feel sick. It's not necessarily because you got bad news about your health. It is because at some point in time, in our understanding, it just doesn't agree with our spirit. It doesn't sit well with our soul, and our free will is like, man, you so you not on board, you not on board, and the soul saying, you're gonna make us lose out. And I'm not trying to go and be in darkness for a long time. And though you have all of these things that's making you instantly happy and consistently happy, and you're indulging in all of this wonderfulness, your body and your mind and your soul are not in agreement. And it's saying, hey, we need to get a grab on reality. We need to fix whatever's going wrong, because we're in a dark place and none of this is helping. None of this is helping. So we have to isolate ourselves. We have to get alone sometime, and we have to start thinking about things. And a lot of times, if you just take a moment out in your day, whenever you get new information, you just take a moment. Like, for example, with these slides today, if you take a moment with each slide and look at those slides, you're going to see a more profound and in depth lesson. Go over it and go slowly. Look at the pictures. Look at it and think about what you're looking at. Think about what you're seeing. Now, this is something that you can think about on your own. But look at how tiny that seed is. Look at how golden and perfectly misshapen it is. Think about what you're seeing. Think about faith being the size of a mustard seed. And what does that mean? That means you can control it, you grow it, you do what you do, not be led by someone else. Think about the various teachers that came in Confucius, um, Jesus. There are lots of similarities in that. And there's a lot of similarities in other things too. But we're going to stick with this for today. And if you get that book, holler at me in the comments so we can talk a little bit more in depth about these various followers of these various faiths. And then you have, the perspectives of these people, and their perspectives are based on how they feel about the information. Go back and look at all of these slides and just take a moment to think about what it is you're seeing there. What does that mean? Think about how you can grow. What does that mean? Who controls the development of your mustard seed? Think about what we're saying here and understand that it's not to guide you and give you directions, it's to provide information for you to critically think about on your own. A lot of people don't like parables because they're like, I don't understand parables. Don't tell me a parable. Tell me exactly what you're saying. And when I say tell me exactly what you're saying, I want to know what you're saying because I want to know where you're coming from. Are you coming from innately evil, innately good? Where are you coming from so I know exactly how to take the information you're giving me? So I know exactly what to do with you when I'm done with you. And here we 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 have to recognize that yeah, at one point in time we may have played a different position in this right here. We may have been the one talked about, and it may have been that that made us go back and then talk about someone else and listen to somebody else talk about that person or whatever. If you was the one that was sitting there trying to make somebody feel bad, whatever the role was, you have to remember your role changes over time, and it will continue to change to exhibit that you have grown or you're not growing. It'll show how you have developed. And everything is happening according to your free will. And a lot of times our free will is based on how our mental space is at the time. So that's why it's important for you to understand your mental well-being and be aware of how to continuously make that a desirable thing. So it's not about being strong enough to handle the presence of evil, negativity, darkness, and oh, that person isn't good for you, that person is bad for you, but you're getting something out of it. It's not about being strong enough to get what you want out of something and still endure the negativity. It's about proper application of the knowledge to exhibit wisdom, growth, development. And once you have that, you'll have a harmonious balance. You see here in this picture where it's like it's showing different textures, different places. You can even think about it because you have to understand it's not just about the place that you're in, it's about the place that you're going to and the place that you'll end up. And you have these symbolisms of, you know, um, various things. And as time has changed, people have taken the rainbow and made a different symbolism for symbolic meaning for something else. But a lot of people just want to be seen as being the individual. And that's the harmony that everyone's looking for, individuality, consistent individuality that's coming together for and forming a pleasingly consistent whole. And sometimes that does mean difference, dirt, shade, all of that. But go back and don't forget to, when you go back, go and look at this website and see what it's saying. And if you come back and you have questions, because it had some things on there that you might have some questions about, but go and come back to these interactive shows and share what you've learned so we can talk about what you learned. I didn't want to bring it up here because I didn't want to go too far left outside of the understanding of free will is controlling everything that you do, all the decisions that you make. And that's where you're going to get that power from. And how is that power? It's the electric shock, it's a surge, it's a consistent electric power. Or is it smoke? Is it something that's putting pollution out into the air in a different type of way? How is this happening? Now, right here is the T. We're going to end with the T. I'm not telling you how to do you. I'm simply providing knowledge you could use. And if you don't want to use it, share it. Somebody else might want to use it. But you have to understand, like, for example, this last picture in this slide, you have two hands, a male and a female's hands, giving to an older set of single hands. It's about passing something. And when we share something, when we pass something along, it's with the intent to grow nourish, and develop and establish something that we can all benefit from. And that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to help you get the mental well being that you can use so we can all be happy and harmonious when we go to the theater, when we go to a concert, when we go to schools, when we go to churches, whenever we going anywhere that we're sharing a space with people that we don't know where their mental space is. We don't know what's going on with people. And that's why it's very important for us to put the proper knowledge out there. And what you do with the knowledge is what you do, but you have to be careful and make sure that the knowledge that you have is backed by a reputable source. And why is this a reputable source? That's why we have branding. See that? Oxford. You want to have books that's from people and places that are reputable, not just, oh, somebody wrote a book and that person, I don't know who this is, but they're saying everything I want to hear in this book. And it's a book. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. There's places, and we'll keep on bringing to you the books and the publisher who has published these books that you could benefit from. And we'll also bring the authors on of these people who are helpful and beneficial, as we've already done and will continue to do. But you have to understand where this knowledge is coming from and how can you get it so that you can benefit from it. Okay, so that's my time for today. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and share. And remember, um, sharing is caring. So what did Eddie say? Research your sources. Watch the first video the Erudition Network put out to showcase how sources work. That's a good tip right there, because sometimes when you go to school they tell you how to research sources, but um it bears repeating of how to do that. So yes, the Bible is a good source. The Apocrypha, which is a abridged version of that you can have with the Bible. This book that I showed you today, and the books I showed you last week, and the books that Eddie has showed you on his show. These are books that you can depend on to edify you, to help grow you, to help strengthen you, and to grow your knowledge. So definitely, again, go back and watch those episodes. And no matter how many times it takes you to watch it, no matter how long you have to dwell on it to see it, go watch it and see it. And Eddie has put in the comments the link to where you can find um, that video that shows you how to find reputable sources and what to read and what's going to grow you. So, because it is difficult to know which ones to listen to and which ones to study from. But remember, not just one particular source, but many sources, many orthodox, many paths, and many people, and take from it what you need, like vitamins, like lotion. Take what you need to grow what you're gonna grow. Take all that information in. Like there's this one author, Robert Yen, and he has a lot of people that study what he put out there, and they go off and they branch off to their own understanding. And in doing that, their perspective again is what they're putting out there. So you go study these things and you come to understand it for yourself, and you branch off on your own. All right, that's the end of the show. I appreciate you all for coming and watching. Please remember, to help grow it, that you have to get some subscribers. So subscribe, like, and share, and view this as many times as you need to understand, and come back next week. Now, I thought somebody would come back this week and say, hey, last week you had these books and I read this and this is what it said, and I let's talk about this, let's talk about that. Let's do that. Let's do that while we have the time and while we're making the time to put it out there and get it out there so that you can ask whatever questions you want, so that we can converse, find out, come to a mutual understanding, and grow each other. Thank you, Matthew, for coming. We'll see you later on the next show. And yes, like Matthew said, subscribe, like, and share with your friends, and even people who you just really want them to just be better mentally. Help them to help yourself.